In the heartwarming story.
Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Global. We'll get you top stories from India and the region. I'm Tanvi Taneja, and for news from the rest of the world, I'm joined by my colleague in Johannesburg today, Lian Singye.
Thanks, Tavi. Coming up from Johannesburg, I will have the latest on BRICS and details of Japan preparing to release treated water from the Fukushima plant. Over to you, Tavi, for the headlines.
South Africa's top official at the BRICS summit says the group of countries will be admitting new members at this meeting.
So we are very confident that Prime Minister Modi being in South Africa provides an excellent opportunity to further cement the historical, friendly and deep ties between our countries.
India's lunar mission Chandrayaan-3 closes in on a historic landing on the moon's south pole. ISRO to telecast the landing event live on Wednesday. Japan to start releasing treated radioactive water from the Fukushima nuclear plant into the ocean from 24th of August. And eyeing for a dream victory, Indian chess grandmaster R. Pragnananda is up against 5-time World Chess Cup champion Magnus Carlsen in the final of FIDE World Cup right now. Up first in DD India Global, all the updates on the 15th BRICS summit that has officially kick-started in Johannesburg. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected to arrive in Johannesburg shortly to attend the 15th BRICS summit. South Africa's top official to the summit, Anil Suklal, has said that BRICS will now admit new member countries to the grouping.
As the 15th leaders meeting of the BRICS summit kicks off here in Johannesburg, the grouping is focusing on developmental partnership with not just South Africa, which is the president this year and the host of this summit, but also by extension with the rest of the African continent. The other is reform of multilateral institutions and strengthening cooperation between the global south. To talk more about that, I have with me Dr. Anil Suklal. He's the Sherpa of South Africa for the BRICS summit. Thank you, Dr. Suklal, for speaking to us. What will be main on the agenda of the 15th BRICS summit?
In terms of the substance, of course, you've mentioned a very important point, the reform of the multilateral institutions. This is a standing item of BRICS leaders' agenda. As you know, the current multilateral global order is archaic, outdated, and almost dysfunctional, including the Security Council that's almost paralyzed and cannot address issues of global peace and security effectively. Since its outset, BRICS has been calling for a reform of global governance architecture.
One concern that is of India and also of the world is cross-border terrorism. Would that be on the agenda?
Yes. Of course, terrorism is always on the agenda because it's an issue that BRICS leaders converge on and soundly condemn. So you will see the declaration address issues of terrorism and in all its facets and manifestations.
Much anticipation, as you say, over 40 leaders or heads of state and government of over 40 countries converge here in Johannesburg. Would there be the talk of expansion of BRICS? Do you think, does South Africa think the time for expansion of this grouping has come?
Well, expansion is definitely on the agenda. It is something that was already cited in the declaration of last year, where leaders asked us to start the discussion of expansion and to look at developing guiding principles, standards, criteria and procedure for expansion. South Africa has been seized with this matter. We've had several Sherpa meetings discussing expansion, and we have completed our documentation around this issue.
Would the grouping be admitting new members at this summit?
Most likely. Most likely.
Okay.
Leaders will make an announcement after the meeting.
Climate change is an issue which affects the world. Would that be prominently on the agenda?
Absolutely. It is prominently on the agenda. It's an issue that we are discussing and the devastation that it has on all of our peoples, our economies, our livelihoods, and what is it we can do collectively as BRICS to address the issues of climate change, climate action, and also to ensure that the global North commits and fulfill its commitments in terms of climate financing in assisting developing countries, both with finance and technology, to address issues of both mitigation and adaptation.
So clearly on the agenda would be these multiple issues that the South African Sherpa says, but at the heart of the summit would be strengthening and broadening the partnership between these emerging economies from what is referred to as the global South, and that is also a key priority of India's G20, of which the Leaders Summit will be held in New Delhi with just days away from the big summit of Johannesburg. With cameraman YK Loknath, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India in Johannesburg.
And DD India's correspondent Shubhendu Ghosh now connects with us from Johannesburg in South Africa. Shubhendu, how's the day shaping up in Johannesburg? We just heard South African BRICS Sherpa saying that the bloc will most likely admit new member countries at the summit. What are you learning on which countries could be added this time around, since several have applied for the BRICS membership?
Right, Tanvi, if I can just share with you the sort of mood in Johannesburg. It's electrifying. Leaders are all gathering to participate in the 15th BRICS summit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also reaching Johannesburg today, and the hotel where he'll be arriving is already buzzing with excitement, full of members of the Indian diaspora who've come and who are professionals in different areas, living here from 1 to 10 to 15 to 20 years. They've all gathered, people of all age group, to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And talking about the big news that came in earlier today about a certain certainty of the expansion of the BRICS grouping, well, we do not know the names of the countries as yet. We only know that it is likely that the group will be expanded. But what we do know is that the conversation has been going on for a long time. BRICS seeks to represent the concerns of the developing world, of emerging economies. And in fact, it stands against a certain hegemony of developed world. And in that order, it is but fair that as the time comes, rightful countries who find a place, who sort of match the frequency, the ideas, the economies, as far as emerging economies, structure and guidelines are concerned, should be welcomed into the grouping.
All right, Shubhendu, we leave it here. DD India continues to bring you round-the-clock coverage on the ongoing 15th BRICS Summit underway in Johannesburg. My colleague Lian Singye is in Johannesburg. He's tracking the 15th BRICS Summit. Lian, over to you for the BRICS Summit updates and other stories making it to the headlines right now. Over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Tanvi. Now, thank you very much, Tanvi. As the heads of India, China and Brazil, plus Russia's top diplomat, will gather from Tuesday to Thursday in Johannesburg for the 15th BRICS Summit. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is en route for Johannesburg. China's President Xi Jinping, Brazil President Lula da Silva, and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov have arrived. Russia's President Vladimir Putin will virtually attend the summit due to his ICC-issued warrant of arrest. Now, the meeting, which has attracted high attention, is hoping to expand the bloc's influence and push for a shift in geopolitics. More than 20 countries have applied to join the bloc, which makes up a quarter of the global economy. DD's India's Isabel Nakiria reports from Johannesburg.
All BRICS heads of state except Russian President Vladimir Putin are here in Johannesburg for the summit this week. Russian President Putin is the target of an ICC arrest warrant and has opted to attend the summit virtually. He is represented by Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. They are converging at the late South African President Nelson Mandela's Johannesburg home, which has been converted into a luxury hotel. More than 30 heads of state, not members of BRICS, are also here, including leaders of emerging economies like Iran's Ibrahim Raisi and Indonesia's Joko Widodo. Discussions around expanding the members of the BRICS will be top of the table. In a televised address on Sunday, President Cyril Ramaphosa said South Africa will not be forced to side with any global powers and has a choice which country it partners with. He encouraged African countries to partner with the BRICS bloc to benefit from what he says are immense trade and investment opportunities. Attempts to de-dollarize the global economy from the dollar, which has dominated international trade, will be discussed. BRICS makes up a quarter of the global economy, representing a fifth of global trade. South Africa says it has a huge security operation up and running to make sure the summit passed off without incident. The country's policing minister says no one attending the meeting should be scared and that the South African security forces, in his words, are ready for the event. Isabel Nakiria in Johannesburg, reporting for DD India.
Now, Japan's government says that it is prioritizing safety and caution as it begins the release of treated water used to cool the wrecked Fukushima plant this week. It is already preparing nearly 8,000 square meters of water for monitoring and testing before the discharge begins on Thursday. TEPCO, the company in charge of the project, says it will only release a small amount over the first 17 days to ensure everything is working smoothly. DD India's Chris Gilbert reports from Tokyo.
Well, it's been 12 years since the earthquake and tsunami which triggered that meltdown at the Fukushima nuclear power plant, and now the government is about to finally embark on the longest part of that nuclear cleanup yet. It's about to begin this project to discharge more than 1 million tons of treated wastewater into the Pacific Ocean. The process is already underway. The first tanks and shafts have been filled with tritiated water that is set to be diluted, mixed in with seawater, and begin the discharge project on Thursday. International outcry and controversy around this project remain, specifically from the Pacific Island Forum, from opposition in South Korea, but most of all from China. Beijing has been calling on politicians in Tokyo to go and drink the water if they think it's so safe, to discharge it into Tokyo Bay if they think it's so safe. And there's also opposition closer to home here in Japan. The fishers in Fukushima and the communities all along that coastline still say they do not trust the government or TEPCO, the company running the project, enough to do this long term, even if the science makes it appear relatively safe. They are the ones whose homes and families were swept away in the tsunami. They're the ones who have been doing the rebuild of their communities for the last 12 years, and now they are the communities that the government is calling on and looking to shoulder the burden of hosting this cleanup for the next 30 or 40 years, making it multi-generational, meaning it'll be the children and grandchildren of these fishers who will be tasked with finishing the job. Chris Gilbert in Tokyo, reporting for DD India.
Despite widespread criticism and international concern, the Japanese government has announced its decision to discharge radioactive water from the Fukushima nuclear power plant from Thursday. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has emphasized the government's commitment to safeguarding the fishing industry.
In 2015, the Japanese government and the Fukushima nuclear plant operators reached an agreement with local and national fishing stakeholders. The pact was to ensure Japan wouldn't proceed with wastewater disposal without any consultations. However, due to a significant buildup of waters since the 2011 earthquake and tsunami, the government has had no other choice.
TEPCO is asked to swiftly prepare to start the water discharge in accordance with the plan approved by the Nuclear Regulation Authority. As for the specific release date, it's expected to be August 24, weather and sea conditions permitting.
Local Fukushima supermarket owners and fishermen are united against the release of the treated radioactive water. Their concern centers on potential damage to seafood quality that could impact sales and livelihoods.
They say it will be safe when it is diluted, but they haven't conducted any scientific research regarding what would happen as a result of discharging this much of the water over 30 years. I think it's unscientific at best to release it here, and it is sure to hurt sales of fish. That's why I am strongly against it. I don't want them to do it.
There is fierce opposition against this move, both regionally and globally. The Chinese government has voiced its concern, and in South Korea there is public outcry, with many there objecting the planned discharge.
Now, all eyes are set on India's historic moon mission, the Chandrayaan-3. It is scheduled to land on the moon's south pole on Wednesday. Chandrayaan-3 is in its final moments of preparation to land. The Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, will be broadcasting this event live around 5:20 p.m. Indian Standard Time on August 23rd. Russia's Lunar 25 spacecraft had crashed this weekend. It was also on its way to the moon. This means Chandrayaan-3 could become the first to land on the moon's dark surface. This is the country's third lunar mission. India says it aims to study the moon's geology, water resources, and the potential for future space exploration. And our correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya is joining us from Bengaluru. Tapas, given the smooth sailing of Chandrayaan-3 so far, can we all hope for successful soft landing of Chandrayaan-3 tomorrow?
Absolutely bang on there that we are every single Indian, in fact the world is keeping a close eye on how India's lunar mission Chandrayaan-3 will work out. Everybody is praying. There are in the temples and Gurdwara, other places, there's people are keeping a close they're going towards to these temples and praying that this particular mission becomes a major success. ISRO scientists are rechecking all the equipment, making sure that once the D time comes, they don't fail, and everybody is gung-ho on this particular Chandrayaan mission. This is going to be this particular mission. It is going to land at the south pole of the moon, which is basically the dark side of the moon, and it is expected that this particular Chandrayaan mission will find out the different the soil, the quality of soil, the whole structure of the moon, and other such a experiment that will go through. So a lot is riding on this. India will be if India manages to make sure, if India gets this mission right, it will be the only country which manages to land a successful mission on the dark side, on the south pole of the moon. No country has so far done it, and it will also come into the close club of it will enter the close-knit club of United States, Russia, China, become the fourth country to have the capability of landing a moon mission. So huge day for India tomorrow at around 6:04 p.m. It is expected that the moon mission will commence, and everybody is waiting for that time with a bated breath. Back to the studio.
Everybody, not just Indians, but the entire world is looking at us whether we can pull it off. Thank you very much, Tapas Bhattacharya, for joining us in DD India Global. Well, it has been a dynamic journey for the Indian Space Research Organization since its inception in 1969 to its first space mission and now to its third lunar mission, Chandrayaan-3. India's space odyssey has truly come a long way.
History has proven that those who dare to imagine the impossible are the ones who break all the human limitations.
A 1,000-mile journey begins with one small step into the space. Indian Space Research Organization's ambitious journey started with a simple bicycle. The first ever rocket was transported to the launching pad on a bicycle. The journey of India's space mission was never easy, but the sheer determination of India's scientists was enough to overcome all the challenges. And India never looked back after the first launch. The ambitious and the rockets kept soaring high. Aryabhat, India's first satellite, was successfully launched in 1975. This spectacular journey was sprinkled with numerous success stories. More than 180 satellites launched in India's 48-year-long space journey. In 2008, India launched her most ambitious mission to date, Chandrayaan. It was a mission to map the moon, its chemicals, its minerals, and its geology. Chandrayaan and Indian scientists didn't disappoint. Chandrayaan-1 discovered water molecules on the lunar surface of the moon. After 11 years, Chandrayaan-2 was launched in 2019. Though India lost contact with the satellite at last stage, it gained valuable data from the mission, including new information about chromium, manganese, and sodium. Now, Chandrayaan-3 is ready to propel India into a select league of nations. Those who have landed on the lunar surface, Chandrayaan-3 will demonstrate the capability of safe landing and roaming on the lunar surface. The launch of Chandrayaan-3 was keenly awaited. Its landing even more so. But the country's mission to explore space will continue. As Chandrayaan-3 blasted off from Sriharikota, 1 billion hearts prayed for its success. It's a mission the whole world has been watching. India's space program, now a global leader.
Former ISRO chairperson Dr. K. Sivan spoke exclusively to DD India. He said that Chandrayaan-3 is expected to be successful as it has ample redundancy features and can make a soft landing with self-corrections built into the system.
Chandrayaan-3 is all set to make a soft landing and touchdown on the surface of the moon on August 23rd. And this is a very crucial mission. All eyes are on India's ISRO, and the scientific community is excited about this mission. Let's take forward the conversation with Dr. K. Sivan. So what does it mean to India with this kind of soft landing, and where does it put India in the big league of the spacefaring nations?
Say this, the soft landing on the moon, it will give India this new technology, with which we can land safely on a celestial body. That's the technology India will gain.
Okay.
So by the process, we will be that one among the 4 nations where has the capability.
Yes.
That way, that is one good thing.
Right.
And the second one is this, that this particular mission is going near South Pole region, which is a shadow region, unexplored region. So scientists are feeling that it may give new science.
What makes the team confident?
3 types of improvements have been incorporated. And with this 3 types of improvements, this operational regime of the lander, the technically, the scientifically, that is the region with which this is working is enhanced.
Yes.
So with that one, we have confidence.
So tell us a little bit more about Pragyan.
The Pragyan is actually the rover.
Yes.
So once the lander is landed safely, that is 2 hours after that, the Pragyan will come out.
Yes.
And from that time onwards, it will be roving over the surface of the moon. And at that time, it will do the scientific experiments also.
Right.
And the communications with the ground is through lander.
Thank you very much for talking to DD India, sir. Thank you so much. That was Dr. K. Sivan ending on a very positive note and hoping all success for Chandrayaan-3, and as confident as he was before when CH-3, that is Chandrayaan-2 was launched. With cameraman Balu, Asha Khanam, DD India, Bangalore.
Still with India, Indian Minister for Chemicals and Fertilizers, Dr. Mansukh Mandviya, held a review meeting with the states and union territories regarding the availability and use of fertilizers in India. During the meeting, the minister informed that all the states got more than 15 million metric tons fertilizers They are available in the country. That is enough to meet the needs of farmers across India. The minister also highlighted the importance of the balanced use of fertilizers to save Mother Earth. And next, updates on India's G20 presidency. G20 Trade and Investment Working Group meeting will be held in India's northern city of Jaipur in Rajasthan, famously known as the Pink City. Jaipur will host the meeting from August 24th to August 25th. More than 300 delegates will arrive in Jaipur to attend the G20 meeting under India's G20 presidency.
Behind me is the excellence of Rajput architecture, the world-famous Amer Fort. Before Jaipur was established by Savai Jai Singh in 1727, this Amer was the capital of Kachawa dynasty. During the G20 summit in Jaipur, the delegates would get to see the excellence of Rajput culture and history here at the Amer Fort. They would be also hosted at a dinner at City Palace, which is home of the former royals of Jaipur. During the summit, there would be deliberation on 5 important points, including the reformation of World Trade Organization, the importance of medium and small scale industries, and also how to increase trade and investment amongst the member nations. With cameraman Mohit and Srinivas in Jaipur, this is Vishal Barrister for DD India.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news across India. India's Minister of Road Transport and Highways, Nitin Gadkari, has launched the much-awaited Bharat New Car Assessment Program. The program aims to increase the safety standards of Indian automobiles, bringing them up to international standards. Principal Secretary to Indian Prime Minister Dr. P.K. Mishra held a high-level review meeting to take cognizance of the current reports regarding the detection of new variants of SARS-CoV-2 virus globally. He said that the COVID situation in India remains stable and that the Indian healthcare system is always geared up. India's Supreme Court has announced an expert panel to study the population size of Himalayan towns. The experts are set to study the hill stations in Indian states such as that of Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. The court's decision comes as environmental and ecological concerns with reports of floods and landslides triggered by excessive rains in the region. India's Meteorological Department has issued a 2-day red alert warning for Indian northern state of Uttarakhand. Heavy rainfall is expected in parts of the region with possible flood warnings. You're watching DD India Global. Still to come on the show. Gandhi Mandela Center of Specialization for Artisan Skills in South Africa's capital Pretoria stands out as a model of development cooperation between India and South Africa. Cambodia's newly elected parliament endorses Hun Mane as Prime Minister, completing a historic transfer of power.